Kyle Lacy is the CMO at Docebo. He previously led marketing at Lessonly and Seismic and has spent the last decade mastering the balancing act between driving pipeline and building a category-defining brand.
If you can figure out how to generate the demand you need off of 70 to 80% of your budget, then you can do whatever the hell you want.
In this episode, Kyle pushes back against a growing trend in SaaS companies, folding marketing under the chief revenue officer.
Product marketing living under a sales-led organization will die.
Plus, we discuss the glaring flaw with the tech industry's obsession with AI.
The things that work are usually not scalable, and we have spent the past year talking about scalability and efficiency because we have these tools that can create now.
Kyle also reveals the one critical asset you must build to anchor your GTM strategy and why no template or AI prompt can do it for you.
You have a direction you want to take this company. I need a one-page document that reads like, and that's our guiding light.
If you're a revenue leader wanting to stay ahead in the age of AI, this episode is for you. Welcome to Top Line.
Hey everybody, it's Top Line. It's Sam Jacobs. I'm the CEO of Pavilion. We're back for another week. I've got my co-hosts here, AJ Bruno, the CEO of QuotaPath, Asad Zaman, the CEO of Sales Talent Agency, and we've got a good friend of the pod and one of the world's great chief marketing officers, Kyle Lacy. Currently, I don't have his bio in front of me, but I'll tell you what he does. He is the CMO of Docebo, but before that, he was the SVP of marketing, I believe, at Seismic, because Seismic acquired Lessonly, where he was CMO. He got his start in Christian rock radio, fun fact, and he lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. And also, he is a net promoter of Orange Theory and really likes that gym and is genuinely a nice person.
Out of all the things that he said, which of those were true?
All of them, actually. Christian rock, I grew up in Christian rock. And so I don't know if I would categorize it as like Christian rock radio, but I listened to a lot of Christian rock radio.
But weren't you in like the radio industry at one point?
My father owned radio stations in Southern Indiana, but we were involved in the Christian rock music scene. I wanted to be in Christian like music business until I figured out they can't make any money in it. And I spent quite a bit of time in the Christian rock scene.
We have 3 people on this pod that each learned differently that you can all make money in music. Sam had a label. I had a label. You try.
That's true.
I did an internship at a record label in Nashville when Apple Music and MySpace Music started to become quite popular, and I realized pretty quickly that I needed to shift to marketing.
Even one of the greatest Christian rock bands of all time, Switchfoot, had a free concert in San Diego every year. They didn't even make money on their concerts. They're just like, there's thousands of people at that concert. I was one of them at one time.
Switchfoot had a song, which I can't remember the title right now, that I had plenty of dates in college because I knew how to play it. So thank you, Switchfoot, from college age Kyle Lacy. It's much appreciated.
We're going to lose our YouTube viewers if we don't start talking about whatever marketing take you have.
All
But
Christian
really,
viewers are going to say though.
Well, enough
What about
of this
DC
banter.
Talk and Audio Adrenaline and all these bands? No, I'm kidding.
The thing I was thinking about in preparation for this was it seems like human-centric brand building is having a moment in tech because of AI. Celebrity endorsements are up, Harvey and Labora. Billboard purchases in San Francisco up 30%. Cinematic launch videos left and right. Founder brand is being invested in aggressively. Andreessen actually has an entire arm that trains founders on how to go direct. So roles related to storytelling are up. Is human-centric brand building having the best moment it's had in the last many years right now or not?
I would like to think that it is. If you're calling out San Francisco in particular, I would say it's probably a little bit different. Like when every AI company on the face of the planet raises money and wants to buy billboards because somebody told them at Y Combinator that they should, that's what's going to happen. Like I was there this past week, and it's just a different world than the rest of us are living in. And it's important to note, and it's important to keep track, and it's important to talk to people that are in it, but it's just a completely different environment. I would like to think that human-centric brand building is becoming more important because I don't know if it's the first time in our history where we've realized that when everyone has the same tools, your only competitive advantage is your human being. And I think AI is just it's given a louder voice in the market for a lot of reasons because it is transformational and it is changing the way we work on a daily basis. And it changes with Anthropic's pricing models, which is also super interesting, which also changes on a daily basis. But all this stuff happening, it's still the human being and it's still the story that will always be paramount. And I don't care if it's AI, I don't care if it's a robot walking into my office giving me water. It's still the story that matters. So I'm hoping that that's the case. But, I'd love I'm on this podcast to learn from the three of you as much as I am anything else. So,
I do think your point around San Francisco, and I've been like very positive on San Francisco the last couple of years. It's cleaned up. It's been a great city, but man, does it feel like dystopia right now? Like straight up, it's a bizarro world everywhere from the airport to driving down the freeway. You're like, where am I right now? And can I get out of here as fast as possible?
this shouldn't surprise any of us, right? You remember when blockchain was the thing that was going to completely revolutionize everything that we
And it's
did
in our
from
face
start to
all over the
finish? It
time.
was in our
Yeah.
face, and it was in our face in San Francisco, and it's cyclical. It always is, and I'm glad that they're the central point of all of this production. And I mean, it's what drives a lot of what we do. But it's like I don't know why anybody's surprised that this is what is happening.
When you drive and you just see every single thing AI, it just that human centric that Kyle's talking about, it just makes you feel like really depressed about things. It's just not a great feeling.
I would push on that a little bit. San Francisco has always been the epicenter of innovation. And right now, I think 90%, more than 90% of the market cap of AI sits in San Francisco, right? It sits in that region. And so there used to be this thing where you would find many, many years ago startups being built that would test themselves out in San Francisco and it would work in a very tech forward market. And then you would expand into other regions and you couldn't find product market fit because it was such a progressive tech ecosystem. That's always been the case, but it's really cool to have that sort of ecosystem. What I find really interesting on the brand side is yes, you drive around San Francisco and you read the billboards, and it is designed to speak to a technologist. But then when you look at the marketing that's happening broader outside of San Francisco, it does have a human centric element to it. And you're noticing this in many areas. You've seen Harvey, you've seen Legora out of Europe doing the celebrity endorsement. Like you're seeing that effect kind of play out broader, I think, AJ.
Kyle, you were just in San Francisco. You're a technologist. Did it speak to you?
Some of it did. I'm not gonna lie. There are some good things out there for sure. And there are cases where I would point to Ramp and Rippling are probably my two favorites right now that are really kind of re-envisioning the way you tell a story in a meaningful way. But yeah, I don't need a fifth billboard that tells me I can replace my entire sales team with a robot. I'm just not interested. If that's the world we're going into, I'm gonna retire and go buy a plumbing and heating company somewhere. Like I just not interested.
In my Sundays with Sam newsletter this past Sunday, titled Word is Brand, it was all about this topic. You know what's interesting? The ideal mix over the last 40 or 50 years that market research says should be invested in brand versus demand gen is 60% brand, 40% demand gen. And actually, in most companies right now, it's 70% demand gen and
Yeah.
30% brand.
Yep.
And I think we went through an era over the golden age of SaaS and it also coincided with a decline in fiction reading. And I think it's really important that, there's 40% fewer people reading fiction books today than 20 years ago, reading for
Oh,
pleasure.
interesting.
And, when people do read, they're only talking about like whatever nonfiction, I made a joke in my newsletter. It's like David Senra, they're all reading like founder biographies or reading like the algorithm about, how Elon designed the Tesla supply chain. And nobody's learning how to tell interesting stories. And so what you get is you get like Roy Lee, you get people that the only way they know how to tell interesting stories is by sensationalism, is by sort of screaming at you and yelling in your
Right.
face and hiring an army of, TikTok influencers. And I think we are in this moment. I think top line is brand. What is the revenue attribution that all of us have back to our respective businesses for doing this podcast? I don't even know what it is. What I know is that if we show up every single week and we speak honestly and people don't feel like they're being sold something and they feel like they're getting our actual authentic opinions, over time we will build trust. The purpose of brand is trust. The purpose is the brand communicates a set of attributes so that you don't have to do diligence every time you do a transaction, that you understand these are the things that I'm buying and this is who I am becoming as a consequence of engaging with that brand. And I think there's a big opportunity. We keep saying it, and I'll just say it again to your point, Asad. There's a huge opportunity and that's why Kyle is very well positioned, by the way. There's no playbook. I'm not aware of a Michael Porter book that says create a llama and make it yellow. But Kyle understood that to separate yourself, and Lessonly
Yeah.
pardon me if I misspeak, but Lessonly was fairly straightforward LMS,
Yes.
in a sea of other competitors. And yet I can immediately think about their color
And
palette.
they sold 10 years ago, right? That one was that deal to
No,
Seismic.
that was
Not 10, but like you actually
2021.
remember Lessonly for
Oh,
the
okay.
size that Lessonly was.
Yeah.
It's in our memory. How many companies that was sold 3 years ago do you remember?
I think it's about surprising and delighting. The only thing that makes marketers relevant is our ability to create positive experiences for our customers and prospects. I mean, that's the only thing that makes me relevant. And if that's a golden llama or it's a conference or it's an event, whatever, like I'll give you a tangible example of this. We had our Inspire user conference a month ago in Miami for Docebo. So we had 1,000 people there. We did not have any type of like campaign to solicit feedback from customers to post on LinkedIn. I didn't build an agent to like pull it in and then send personalized emails out to everybody to say, "Hey, post on LinkedIn what you experienced. What happened?" We had the most content ever produced by customers around Inspire because of one reason, that they posted on LinkedIn without us ever saying anything. It's
They love the
because
event.
they
They
love
love
the
the
event.
event.
We took care of them. They trust us as a company. Lessonly, in this age, would get eaten alive. Our software did not have a moat. It was really simple to use. You could probably vibe code it now in a weekend. Right? You could. So it was a different time and place, but we still told good stories. And we told it around the customer, we told it as part of our culture, and we're doing the same thing at Docebo. So, do I think that most people should read Stephen King's On Writing? Yes. If you haven't read a fiction book, pick up The Stand. I'm a Stephen King fan, but great storytelling. If you want to learn how to tell a story now, you might as well, right? But I think it's about surprising people. And most people are given marketing that's bland as hell, looks like everyone else, and doesn't elicit anything. I mean, there's a great book called Emotional Branding by Mark Gobay that I picked up at high school that I've read 50 times. And it's all about product design and the Coke bottle and how all this stuff, colors and how all this stuff matters. And it all comes down to good taste. And you either have it or you don't. And I can't talk to you guys about how to teach somebody good taste or to have it like internal and understand how to grasp it, but you usually can tell when somebody does. And if you find those people, great if they have some AI capabilities, but good taste is very hard to hire for in general. But I just went off on a tangent, but that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of storytelling and brand authenticity. And you got to speak to the customer, and the customer has to feel loved.
And the way to tell interesting stories is you've got to have, Sampar did this whole video, which I thought was pretty interesting about how to develop good taste, but the core of it is immersion in the subject matter so that you can develop a point of view. And that immersion comes from a passion for the subject matter. And so if you're completely uninterested or not passionate for the subject matter, you're not going to expose or immerse yourself in the content long enough to figure out what's good and what's bad and understand how to reference it against, whatever the canonical pieces are, whether it's Stephen King's, library or anything else. I think taste is more teachable than we might assume, but I do think that few people have it. And again, I think that I hate to sound like an old person, but fewer people are teaching themselves how to tell stories. All of the stories they're being taught are short form, explosive and sensational and not interesting and not nuanced. And then when people read books, the books they're all reading are like Atomic Habits, or it's all books about like self-help and how to wake up, get the right amount of sleep, and how to eat peptides or whatever you're supposed to do. And nothing's about passion and loss and romance and frustration and anxiety.
That stuff's not efficient, right? Like we consume everything to make ourselves more efficient. People that have good taste, there's an inefficiency you go through to develop taste because you immerse yourself in something. You get lost in it.
It's so interesting because the things that work are usually not scalable. And we have spent the past year talking about scalability and efficiency because we have these tools that can create now.
And on top of that, we haven't done a good enough job of actually giving the framework and the guidance to our team to be able to do it themselves. We're just saying you need to be more efficient. You need to be AI first. And so their critical thinking skills are also going down. So that, that 40%, I think that was the 40% number of reading fiction today. Sam, was that you? Did you say that?
Yeah.
That number is
It's
going to
true.
get way worse. Do you feel like you're having to educate your team, your management team, and the CEO more than ever on this, and like you're like constantly having to talk about this, or do you feel like, no, I joined Docebo because they get it?
I don't have that problem. We have a CEO that's been at the company for a long time, and he intimately understands messaging and positioning. He was the CRO before, and he is very passionate and in love with this industry and how we help, for everybody from learning to skills to knowledge management to all the stuff that we sell, right? So I don't have that issue. I think sometimes the frameworks are the problem. I'm gonna be like, I still hear stories about the Zora pitch deck from Andy Raskin. I still hear that. I mean, when did that come out? I think I was in college. I don't know. I have no idea. When did that come out?
I think it was like
10?
2008. Yeah, 2008, 2009.
I still hear that referenced. And because it's just about good storytelling and it's a framework and stuff. But, I think that the best ways to figure this out are through experiences. And, for me, I don't know how tactical you want to get, but you've got to start with a manifesto. You have to write something that you would publish in the Wall Street Journal around why you do and how you do it. And that
On your
then
personal brand, on your
no,
company's brand?
company. You can
Yeah.
do it as a personal brand too.
That's
But
interesting.
I frame it with my CEO as like, hey, you have a direction you want to take this company. I need a one-page document that reads like a manifesto that you would publish in the Wall Street Journal tomorrow as a full-page ad. And that's our guiding light. And we can evolve that based off of where the company's going. But that's where I try to centralize a lot of this stuff, is to say, does it speak to the manifesto? And then the manifesto goes to messaging pillars go to use cases, personas, ICPs, verticals, blah, 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 right? That's where frameworks matter. But the manifesto itself is never created through a framework. It has to do with what the customer is saying. It has to do with the future of the product and a lot of different things. But now I'm thinking about
Sam,
Stephen King and getting thrown off. And I'm thinking, did my rating on the Sam scale go up or down when I mentioned Stephen King?
Probably
Dude,
up.
The Stand is one of my favorite books.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that have read, like, there's people that are going, because this motherfucker writes, like, he is writing 2 to 3 books a year still. And so I can't even keep up. But I say the canon of Stephen King is The Stand, The Shining, and Salem's Lot. And if you read those 3 books, those are great books. And The Shining is one of my favorite. But The Stand is incredible, and I think about The Stand all the time. You know who I think about when also because I think one of my favorite characters is from Indiana, which is Trash Can Man, the
Trash Can Man, yeah.
the guy that lights all the fires. I have friends that are pyros, and I call them Trash Can Man.
And our YouTube viewership just went like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sam, do you think that these AI companies are investing more in brand? Like, do you actually agree with that post statement that we are seeing a revitalization, a resurgence of brand in tech? Or do you think, no, like they're doing things that feel like brand building, but it's not really brand building? Like,
Kyle says, start with the manifesto. Start with what you believe and why you exist. And I think if we look at OpenAI and Anthropic, I don't think they have a point of view. I really don't think they have a point of view on why they exist. I think they exist to exist. I think it doesn't make any sense to me that the people that are warning us about this technology are the people building it. Dario and Sam Altman, I mean, the whole OpenAI, the concept of it, the premise of it is it's supposed to protect us from the bad uses of AGI. And of course, it's become closed and private. Like we are building and we're not sure why. That tells me there is no the manifesto is only get there first and take all the money.
Did you see Eric Schmidt's speech where he got booed by the kids? So he was giving this commencement speech to a bunch of university grads,
Great.
and he just kept bringing up AI, and they kept booing and booing and booing. It was actually pretty intense to watch. And you can see how much society dislikes AI, because you are right. Like the foundation model companies, I think, have some strange marketing. Like, this is going to kill you. This is going to destroy the world, but we must build this. It's
Well, they
like,
have
okay.
very
Think
different
about Amanda
audiences too.
on our show, who I like. She's like, one mind's going to wipe out all salespeople.
Yeah.
Let me go call the CRO who came up from sales and see if they'll buy one mind. Like, okay,
I think
interesting
Amanda's a
strategy.
gangster for that, though. Like,
She,
I
but
think
no,
at
but
least
here,
she's saying,
she's gonna be listening to this and thinking out loud. I had my wife listen to that episode and she's like, AJ, why did you not push back? Like Amanda, she's basically saying your company quota path, all about
your
salespeople
TAM will not
die.
exist.
It's dead in the water. And I think you're right, Asad. I was sitting, and I probably mentioned this, but I was sitting watching Project Hail Mary, and the ad right before the movie started was Anthropic, and the entire theater booed as loudly as I've ever heard a theater boo.
That's so
Look at
interesting.
that.
Yeah. And why would Anthropic run an ad?
Okay, but here's the
about Project Hail
distinction,
Mary.
though. I think if you were to look at the foundation model companies, horrible at marketing, it doesn't look like they really understand what they're doing from that perspective. But the product's so magical that they're growing at these insane rates, and it is what it is, right? At the application layer, when you look at the Replits and the Lovables, etc., you do see that they are because they're the most commoditizable layer of the stack, right? Like there's no technological advantage that persists at the application layer for more than a few days. And so over there seems to be this almost inherent belief that brand will give us an edge. And you do see them investing more in brand and doing some like really nice, elegant stuff there as well. Some tacky stuff. I find the celebrity ads tacky. But you see some elegant things come out of there as well. And I think there is a distinction in the ecosystem between these two.
I think that has to do with the fact that at the core, they always had it. Lovable always had that culture. That is baked, and they've done a great. Elena, she has a core philosophy that has not changed since she joined that company and continues to evolve as the company evolves. Lessonly, we had a culture and a value set that was there from the very beginning, and it evolved with us as the market changed. I love Anthropic's ads. I think they're brilliant. I think they're use case specific. But in terms of a manifesto and culture, I have no idea. And honestly, I'm not going to speak to it because I do not know what that company's going through. Good God. Like the amount of growth that, and I mean, we're talking 500, 600, 7,000, $700,000 deals that aren't getting time of day right now because they have, like, imagine us saying that ever.
Well, Benioff said he's going to spend $300 million.
Again, insular, like, let's all give each other money and
Yeah, I
keep,
mean,
keep
but it's
spiking the market. But
sure, but I think Salesforce does, like when he says that, and he's talking about it and all in podcasts about the engineering teams and that they weren't going to hire engineering teams, and he's reversed course a little bit on that.
Yeah.
But $300 million is like, I mean, that's exactly right. This is a deal. And I mean, I'm sure Anthropic has dozens and dozens of those deals right now going on.
we
Insane.
can't get time of day. And we're spending six figures with them.
Yeah. Well, try spending 8 figures like I do with Intercom.
You can let my CFO know that.
And 8 figures on Finn, Kyle. See what happens.
I think there's this new cohort of founders that grew up on social media that do more instinctively understand a distribution and brand, and you're noticing that in the Lovables of the world and the Replets of the world. The marketing that Anthropic does well is product marketing. I think the marketing that's strange of theirs is the branding. It's like, this is going to destroy the world, but we got to build it, because if we build it, maybe we've got a shot. And that's a strange message, and people are booing them as a result. But their product marketing to like the users of the technology is absolutely brilliant. Sam, do you think this, like, we have more founders now that are going direct? We have more investors that are investing in helping them develop their skills of going direct. If you look at social media, if you look at Twitter, it's like founders are all over it in a way that just wasn't the case in the SaaS era. Where do you think this trend line goes if you look out 5 years from now? Does it accelerate further? Does it go back where it was? Like, what's your prediction of this trend that's happening?
I definitely think it does accelerate, but I think the people like me that are doing it, that haven't figured out all the scalable systems, run a very large risk of burnout. You know, I'm in the middle of a 9-hour block of calls, an hour and a half of like teaching content for Pavilion, an hour and a half of recording this. I'm writing a newsletter on Sundays. I'm trying to contribute to the Top Line newsletter once in a while. I'm trying to post on LinkedIn. Now we got to post Substack notes in addition to posting on LinkedIn.
Oh, wait, don't you have a board meeting right after this?
I have a board meeting right after this that'll go to 11:30 p.m., here in Spain. Thank God I still control the company. I can't tell what zone I'm in personally, like this, but I just can tell you this does not feel sustainable. Like it feels like I'm a little frantic. So I would be interested in figuring out a way so that I truly felt comfortable not being operational. So that maybe if all I was doing was like writing my newsletter and showing up for the podcast and then like kissing babies, that would be different. But I'm mixing operations.
I think the answer is in the Renaissance era. When you look at the artists of that era, they had workshops and they had these apprentices who were running around. And so if you look at a sculpture made by like some great artist, it had the work done by many different people. It's not like Leonardo did the whole thing himself, right? And I think that's the answer, is like you actually have to build an infrastructure around you and say, I have to become the idea source, and then some form of production is happening around me. I come back and add like final touches to it. And so it's not ghostwriting, but like I need something to give me bandwidth, and it's like human beings that have taste in a bunch of different directions.
What a
I think
random
that's
ass analogy you just made.
Oh,
You're
it's
bringing
good.
the
I
Sistine
thought that was
Chapel
great.
into
good
this. I love
analogy.
it.
Hey,
Yes.
I'm
I
for
thought
it.
it was really good.
I'm for it.
Okay, it is time for quiz pro.
Bro.
Whoa. This is the quiz.
Was that a harmony?
It's intentionally discordant.
The three of you versus me. I will ask the questions. I will give you the options. You guys have to collude to try to get at least 2 out of 3 right. These guys have been on a good tear recently. They've been
Well,
winning.
no. But the answer to this is we've always relied on the guests. Sam and I
Great.
relied on
Perfect.
the guests. So Kyle, you're gonna
Awesome.
crush this.
Can I use Claude?
You can no.
It depends
sorry.
how quickly you can use Claude.
Yeah.
Depends
just
on the
comes down to
system that
speed.
I've built to support my thought leadership, right?
Okay, question number 1. What is the average tenure? Average tenure is Sam's favorite topic. It helped build Pavilion. What's the average tenure of CMOs at S&P 500 companies? Well, option number 1, 1.8 years. Option number 2, 2.2 years. Option number 3, 4.1 years. Option number 4, 7.9 years.
That's obviously not correct. I think it's between B and C.
Yeah, the 2.8 and the 4.4.
4 point something.
I'd say, yeah. Weird
one
on
do we
the
want?
whole 2.8. Can we just do months next time? That'd be great.
It's the middle of October, actually, October 14th.
There's no way they last 4 years on average.
There can't be. It's got to be
Yeah,
B.
It's
It has
got
to
to be
B.
2.2.
I think B. Kyle,
If
what
you're
do you think?
locking in 2.2, B.
Kyle, what do you think?
You're wrong. Off to a bad
No,
start.
We didn't lock in. You can't just jump in like that.
It's the glee.
What
The glee.
the decorum of
Boy.
Quid Pro Quo has been completely ruined. by Asad Zaman.
Can we start
I had to
The
take
over?
the
joy
word.
that Asad gets in telling us we're wrong is why he's going to hell.
It is 4.1
Oh,
years. It's
Wow.
pretty long.
That is a
that was
long
pretty
time.
long. That's the Fortune. That's the S&P 500. Is that what you said? S&P
Yeah.
500.
Yeah. It's a lifetime, basically. You get like almost 5 years to do your thing.
Well, I
That's a
need to
long time.
upgrade.
Public
apparently.
companies. I guess public companies.
If you compare that to private companies, I think it's 19 months on the private startup and growth scale. Like there's a huge difference there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, question number 2. Windows 95 was said to be the most expensive single product launch in tech history. How much did Microsoft spend on this single product launch? Option
Today's
number
dollars?
1.
Wait, today's dollars? Are we counting for
Oh my
inflation?
God, it's just like back
No,
then.
it's-
How much did
that's
they
a good
spend back then?
point.
Now you're like inflation adjusted.
Inflation adjusted. Okay.
Okay. Option number 1, 30 million. Option number 2, 130 million. Option number 3, 300 million.
Wait, in did we
No, this is in those dollars.
those
Yeah.
dollars?
I can imagine more
it's
than
gotta be-
100. 130. 30 or 130?
I think 30.
130.
I think 30.
You think 30, Sam?
I don't know. What do you spend on a product launch, Kyle?
Not any of those choices. Very much lower than that. Surprisingly, just because we have AI efficiency. Blah 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 blah.
There you go.
No, I mean it's got to be A, unless Steve Ballmer was involved. So maybe it's B. I don't know.
I think 30 is probably yeah, let's
Wait,
go with
well,
30.
based off of your face right now, it can't be A because you can't hold back.
It's obviously not A, guys. It's like, it's not
All right,
obviously
then go with-
cards, play the game, play the face, play the player.
You gotta be B then. Gotta go
B.
with B.
Let's go with B.
fine,
Let's go with
B.
whatever.
Lock it in, Asad.
I win. You're
it's
wrong
A?
again. It was $300 million on one single product launch. Bill Gates
Wow,
got
that's
Mick
insane.
Jagger. Mick Jagger was involved. Jennifer Aniston was
Friends.
involved. Matthew
Yeah.
Perry was involved.
There
They
was a whole training from the cast of Friends. Not kidding. The whole cast of Friends did a training on Windows 95. True story.
See, we haven't changed at all. Celebrity endorsements, Jennifer Aniston doing your software training. It makes sense.
there was in the international nature of this was wild. In Poland, Microsoft staged a launch event where journalists were taken out on a submarine.
What?
Wait. Poland took journalists in a submarine. Poland.
So Windows 95, guys.
Was it a Polish submarine?
In New Zealand, they chartered a ferry and held a launch party on the water. Like, this was a worldwide launch. This was intense.
This is Windows 95. Is that what you said? Windows 95?
Windows 95. The launch generated something like 3 million news stories worldwide in the week around August 24th, much of which Microsoft didn't directly pay for, but absolutely engineered. And so this got them lots of 3 million news stories. 3 million news stories.
Wow.
The most expensive marketing flop. This is question number 3. This is the last one. Consolation prize if you get this right.
All right.
The most expensive marketing flop in history was also from Microsoft. This was their 2008 Vista campaign. How much did they spend/waste on this one? Option number 1, 30 million. Option number 2, 130 million. Option number 3, 300 million.
Gotta go.
Gotta
B,
be, it
right?
has to be C. It has to be C. There's
I
no
say
way.
C. 300 million.
It has to be C.
You think they spent 300 million again, like in the age of internet? Like
Yes.
now they had the internet.
Yes, 300 million.
Yes, 300 million.
Yes, you're right.
Thank
There
God.
was a Seinfeld
Asad
ad
really wanted
that
to
they
get us
did.
off of C, by the way.
Yeah,
Did you
you're
see how
not
hard he
a-
tried?
You don't operate.
I should
in
have
good
changed the
faith,
option.
Asad.
There was a Seinfeld ad that they did that was so badly received that they had to pull that ad within a couple of days of launching it. So this
Wow.
campaign was a complete flop.
That's hilarious.
And on that note, guys,
That
that
was
is
fun.
Quiz Pro Quo.
has anybody got all three?
Oh, yeah.
I have.
The quality of our guests is really a byproduct of how well we do on Quiz Pro Quo, just
I
FYI.
agree with that. I agree with that.
Topic number 2, guys.
Okay.
So the future of SaaS-Era marketers is now the point of conversation. When you click into SaaS-Era companies, Kyle, and marketing teams there, they feel under attack. Sam has spoken about this a lot. They feel like they've been pushed into becoming demand gen marketers. CMOs are really upset about this. We aren't being given the space to invest in brand. We're being told to do everything to create pipeline today and tomorrow, but not allowed to make the investments that create pipeline day after tomorrow. And so there's a lot of frustration. They feel under attack. The other side of the argument is, hey, SaaS-Era marketers, there was a time where you were allowed to invest in brand, and what are the great SaaS-Era brands that you built? And so maybe you're better at this thing, and let's focus on the thing you're really good at. What are your thoughts on this tension that exists in the space? Do you feel it? Do you see it? Do you hear it when you're talking to other marketers?
Yeah, I definitely hear it. I don't, maybe I'm lucky, but I don't experience that as much at the company at Docebo because we believe in both. I find it, Sam, you mentioned the brand spend, the 60/40. I'm one that's been in the market for a decade talking about my 80/20 rule, where it's 80% spent on demand and 20% shouldn't be touched by anybody other than the marketer. If you can figure out how to generate the demand you need off of 70 to 80% of your budget, then you can do whatever the hell you want, like Golden Llamas or hiring Jennifer Aniston to do your software training, whatever. Um, so I found that fascinating because I don't know what I would do if I flipped it. And I don't know how I would necessarily tell that story. But I do think that this idea of productivity and efficiency is hitting marketing hard because there's so much support from marketing that's given to the entire company. So you have more situations where executive teams are seeing what marketing is doing and pointing to it to like, well, why aren't you using AI for this? And then of course we come to the age old problem, which is every CEO thinks they're a marketer, which has always been the case. And this is nothing new. We've always had to deal with this. I find it fascinating that we have spent a decade talking about marketing, helping or owning pipeline and revenue. And I've been part of that. I've talked about it's how I got a seat at the table at Lessonly, at Seismic, at Jellyfish, now Docebo. Like it's something that it's part of my playbook. And now we're going back to this problem of brand and brand visibility and spending on brand when it's the same problem we've always had. It's just the marketers that are dealing with it never figured out how to help own revenue.
I totally get that, but I also feel like most of marketing has actually gotten on the bus of the pipeline generation. There's been
Then
enough
why are
talk
they
of
having
it.
a hard time getting the brand spend if they're delivering on pipeline?
When we speak to marketers, a lot of them, their measurements are not revenue. Very, very few marketing executives really own the revenue number. There are a few, but they are a few. It's not the majority.
Well, and my response to that is that they should have got on that bandwagon 10 years ago when we were talking about it, when we have continued to talk about it. I mean, it's not even been 10. 3 years ago, we were talking about this. And maybe I don't have enough empathy. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe I need a higher empathy level here. But it's just this argument is just hard for me because marketing should have been doing this from the beginning.
Kyle, what do you think about the move from CMO to CRO? Do you view marketers that become CROs? Do you want to banish them from your sacred circle?
No, I do. I honestly think that marketers becoming CROs are great choices. What I don't agree with is marketing being folded into a revenue org because it looks more efficient.
So you think a CMO should always report to a CEO?
Yes. And if you don't have a CMO, great, but don't make a CMO report to a CRO because there's efficiency somewhere.
What
to be
about
found.
like in some companies that have scale, you have the president of essentially field operations.
Sure.
That's essentially
But it
the
depends on the
CRO.
person. Depends on the person. I am very lucky to work with Mark Hasselglow, who's CRO at Docebo.
Do you like
And
Mark?
I love Mark. And would I be okay with
Why?
marketing eventually? Why do I love Mark?
I'm just messing with you.
I mean, you don't have time. You don't have time on this podcast for that. Empathy's one, but Mark is somebody that I would be okay with marketing reporting into Mark, because Mark understands
But
storytelling,
you wouldn't
brand
report into
development. But
Mark, right?
no,
Like,
I
yeah, you
wouldn't.
wouldn't. But Alessio is a CRO, became a CEO,
Sure,
whereas that actually does make sense, right? He's kind
sure,
of like the classical. In many companies, you have him as a president, and over
yeah.
there, it does make sense for the person to then
But I
report
think it's
him. So
all
it is,
based off of the people. Like
yeah.
if your marketing team can't figure out how to do great pipeline development and understand conversion rate, and product marketing isn't involved in pipeline, maybe you should report to a CRO because you haven't figured that out, and
Mhm.
that's business impact.
But why do you think they should not report to a CRO? Because it forces more short-term focus on demand gen and not enough on brand?
I think it's harder for, it's not impossible. Mark's an example, just to be clear. I think it's much harder for sales leaders to understand the nuances of
Yeah.
brand development and
I agree with
creativity
that.
and
One
long-term
of
thinking.
Yeah.
One of the most common pieces of advice I give is at the beginning of every CRO search, I tell the company to take marketing out of the remit. I'm having this conversation right now.
I agree.
This is the search we're launching for a company that's about 30, 40 million in ARR. And the conversation I'm having with the CEO and the board is take marketing out of this. It won't work. Hire a CRO who's a great CRO. Think about marketing differently. I've rarely seen it work well. And I find that especially brand suffers. You get the demand gen stuff fine, but you don't get a lot of great branding. You don't get a lot of great messaging, things that are really, really important right now in a market where technology has been fairly commoditized, right? Like if your technological advantage is not significant in terms of size or length of time that it persists, then you do need to flex other muscles. And to flex those muscles, you need the right sort of org design, I think.
You need the two people on the exec team that can kind of balance that. And there's also an important point here where we are all starting to transition to product-led companies. We all are. Like, this is the first time in my career where I'm having a hard time keeping up with the amount of stuff product and engineering is shipping. First time ever.
Wow.
Like, if you were to ask me 5 years ago what my biggest issue is, it's gonna be, well, can't get product and engineering to ship fast enough. That's not the case anymore, thanks AI,
All right,
and it's
relax,
great.
guys.
Right, but when you're in that world, I think marketing is even more important, especially great product marketing, and product marketing living under a sales-led organization, it will die slowly because you can't get the right people in the role that want to do it, in my opinion, right? So,
Interesting.
I just think that we are evolving pretty dramatically in the way we think about go-to-market, and there are people out there that can handle both. I just think the tension needs to exist between sales and marketing at the executive level, and if it doesn't, you're gonna lose the easiest thing to cut at a line item, which is an event or Golden Llama direct mail or something that doesn't make sense to a sales leader because it didn't lead an attribution model all the way to a close to pipeline or close one.
I mean, what you're describing as a CRO, lots of CEOs have very similar. So reporting to the CEO doesn't necessarily mean that everything's gravy.
Sure.
I understand the tension piece of it. So one two-part question. Like one, when was the last time you didn't report to a CEO? And it's been a long time, I'm
Long
guessing.
time. Exact
Yeah.
target.
Okay.
The marketing cloud before the marketing cloud. So that was
So
a
you
long
did,
time ago.
so you did not report to Dorsey at
I
that
did not
time.
report to Scott Dorsey. I really
Yeah.
wish that I had, but no, I didn't.
You have your framework. You're very thoughtful with joining a company, but I assume that at some point during the year, during budget conversations, maybe with the CFO, that this conversation comes to a head on the brand piece of it. No?
No, because we have well, we talk about all of it, of course. And yes, do we talk about return on investment in major event spend? Do we talk about return on investment in stuff that we're experimenting in podcasting, as an example? We brought up podcasts. We're doing some cool stuff with our employees on that. Yes, we talk about it, but when we look at it from a financial level, it's sales and marketing. And the efficiency in sales marketing is super important. But everything that exists underneath that, it's for us to decide how we're gonna do it and how we're gonna do it well, but we are going to meet that efficiency number, like customer acquisition cost number that we're looking at on a pretty that, we talk about it quite a bit. But I just think that that's where you have, as marketing leader, I'm in a public company, so it's different now. But at a series A, B, or C, I tried as much as possible to have the conversation around sales and marketing and not this like, well, we've met with sales and talked about their headcount capacity model, and this is bottoms up, top down, blah, 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 blah. Here's your envelope marketing. We need to hire AEs,
We
but here's
need
your blah, blah, blah.
1,200 opportunities, Kyle.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it was like, do you really care? Do you really care, CEO, or do you just want to make sure we maintain an efficiency number across sales and marketing? What do you want? And if you really want to get in the weeds with me on marketing, great, let's do it. But ultimately, the board's going to ask you sales and marketing efficiency. And if it's way off, they're going to get in the weeds. So it's storytelling as much as anything else. And I wish that I had like this cool framework you can follow to think it through that I could spout off on a podcast. But the reality is, it's
Well,
just
you did.
about,
You have the manifesto to
yeah.
messaging pillars to ICP and products. I mean, you do have a
But
framework.
this budget mentality, I really think that if you have to have the conversation with sales and marketing in the room, and that is not common. AJ, you called it out. That's not common. It's very hard to get done. And if you are sitting in this world where you don't have a great relationship with your sales leader and you're a marketing leader, you got to fix that immediately. And if you can't fix it, probably need to consider going somewhere else because it's not going to end well for you. Sales will always have the larger throne at the proverbial table than marketing because they're revenue.
That was a really big throne, by the way.
That's a
You were
huge
like-
throne.
you were
They
like-
have a great
you
throne.
were
Mark's
balancing it.
throne is very big. No, I'm kidding. No, I just think that you're never going to get to this world where they're going to look at marketing and sales on the same level ever, unless something changes dramatically, which it could. But marketing will always
Do you
be.
think that changes as a certain size and scale comes up? Because
Yeah.
in Microsoft, the most powerful department, like all of these companies are led by a particular function. Microsoft product marketing was always known as like the primary thing at Microsoft.
I'm guessing it's the same at Google.
Google's
guessing it's the same.
engineering. So Google was engineering, Microsoft
Products,
was
right?
product
Yeah.
marketing specifically.
Well, the size, I can't speak to, who knows what the hell they've got going
Happens
on.
up
Like
there.
I will never be at that level, but I think that it's very dependent on the business. I think product led changes how we talk about this, but ultimately, how do you make sure that the company knows that you're thinking about the business impact and the metrics that they care about, that either the board cares about or your market cares about? And then you work in that. You work in that model, and brand is very much a part of that.
It's almost like so last night I was watching the NHL playoffs, story time, and I saw John Carlson in an Anaheim Ducks jersey. And John Carlson was a defenseman for the Washington Capitals for 20 frickin' years. And I think about you, and I think the first I knew of you, Kyle was Lessonly, and Lessonly was Kyle. The llama, the board game, visiting you in that train station in Indianapolis where you guys had that conference. Then you went to Seismic. It made sense to me. Then you were orange. You were yellow, then you're orange. Then you
I
were
still
purple.
remember Kyle's post, by the way, of him becoming the CMO of Seismic. It was a pretty big post because it was like, wait, Kyle's the CMO of Seismic? Really?
Were you CMO of Seismic?
Technically, yeah. I mean, it was SVP, but yes, I was
Yeah,
the marketing exec. I
Right,
guess. That's
exactly.
how you frame it.
So then,
Don't
and then
forget
you-
Jellyfish, though. You got
I'm not going to
Jellyfish.
forget
All right,
Jellyfish, because
all right.
then you were purple. And then it was like video
Purple.
games. And my point is, it's almost like a professional athlete. And I guess it's a question of how authentic do you think how much authenticity is required for a marketer that relies on brand and storytelling when they join a new organization to how much of it is mercenary? How much of it is true belief? How do you think about switching lanes and all of a sudden, and now I feel like Docebo's blue. Is that the color palette for Docebo?
Bluish, purplish, yes.
Yeah, bluish.
Yeah.
Now you're Docebo, but you've been there a little while now, so now I believe it. But it's hard for me to see Kyle Lacy as this career, just move around, and yet that's what's required. So my question is, what is the level of authenticity? What is the level of belief? How much of it is, drop me in the middle of an island and tell me to sell coconuts, and I'll freaking sell coconuts. And we'll find a story to tell about coconuts. I don't give a shit about these products or these people or my peers.
Well,
They
that's
are
clear. That's
they are
clearly not my
nothing to
answer.
me. They are dirt on under my fingernails. They are scum. No, I'm just kidding. But how important is
Uh,
you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, I understand. Authenticity is most important for me. What I learned with Jellyfish was that I really had to believe in the product and the outcome of the product. Jellyfish is great technology, great company, great people. I love the exec team. I love the people that I work with. I had a real hard time leaning into the product. And that wasn't is mainly just because I don't think I should have ever made the decision to go sell to a technical audience.
I mean, I felt you were leaned in when you were there.
I can mold a story and creative and brand and cool direct mail with Legos and all that stuff. That's a playbook. But you really have to believe in the product. And I got to a point where it was really hard for me to create that level of excitement when I didn't I believed in the outcome of the product. It was just hard for me to put myself in the shoes of the customer because I wasn't that person. Docebo's different because the mandate is pretty spectacular. It's like I said at the beginning of this podcast, when everyone has the same AI tools, your only competitive advantage are the human, and there's no better group of people to deal with change management and human development than people, talent, and L&D teams. And I do believe there's a renaissance period happening in work where you are gonna have to invest in skills development of the people. And so I'm super passionate, and I've always been about that. That's why I loved working at Lessonly. And, Leslie's mission statement was, "We help people do better work so they can live better lives." Like, great. Tee that up for me all day long. So, I think that again, to answer your question, Sam, I think that I could develop a strong brand identity and story and experiences for anybody. But me lasting in a brand or a company, whether that's 2 years or 5 years, I have to be in love with the idea completely from start to finish. So I don't know if that answers it completely, but
No, it does, and I appreciate it. And I think with that, we move on to our final segment, Asad.
Wolves versus
Whoa.
bears.
Bulls versus
Bears.
bears. There we go.
Yeah. So I'll ask you a question and ask whether you're bullish or bearish. You'll give your stance. If somebody disagrees, they can jump in.
Okay, which one's pro? Which one's pro? Which one's con again?
Bull is good, bear is bad.
I'm just kidding.
AJ, I haven't asked you many questions today, so I have a question for you.
I'm here for you, Asad.
OpenAI and Anthropic do not pay commissions today. You're the master of commissions in this ecosystem, so I have a commission-related question. Do you think by 2030, OpenAI and Anthropic will start paying commissions? Which essentially means, do you believe their growth will slow down to a point where
Right,
they'll
yeah.
have to?
Because Google is infamously didn't pay commissions for a while. And they do today, but they do it through a team. And sales has always been a second-class citizen from the friends that I've worked there, that have worked in sales at Google. I will go bearish on that front. And for the same reason that Google has worked its magic where it doesn't really have a similar commission rate, which is if you have a business model that that works in a totally different way and it's PLG, let's not forget that even at the B2B size for Anthropic, it's still a PLG machine. We can't, as Kyle said, none of us can get on the radar of Anthropic or OpenAI. I will go bearish. They probably have a great stock option plan. Monday.com also infamously never paid commissions, and they did theirs through stocks and shares. And that's where I'm going to go with. They will not be a
Hard
commission-based
disagree. Hard
sales.
disagree.
Yeah, hard disagree. I think the
Yeah,
people that
hard
work there also disagree with you.
Why do you both disagree so hard? Kyle seemed
Okay,
like
so firstly, Google reps on a 70-30, they get paid commissions now.
But is the
Two,
individual commissions? Depends
yes,
on probably
individual
where
commissions.
they are
Yeah,
and what
individual commissions.
department.
And basically, it's based upon your growth rate, right? If your growth rate is so spectacular that your stock options accelerate at a pace where nothing else matters because you're going to make so much money off of that, you are willing to compromise your commissions. I think the minute your growth rate normalizes, even at a pretty healthy rate, like at 100% growth, you still have to pay commissions, like, so Anthropic and OpenAI maybe in 2030 maintain 100% growth rate, which would be crazy at the sort of scale we're talking about in terms of their revenue at
It's
that
only 4 years
point.
away. No, you're
Yeah, but
wrong.
4 years away, if they keep compounding the way they're compounding, you're talking about a company that's today doing $45 billion. Like, how big will they be? So can they maintain a 10x a year at that point? Impossible, right? And at that, if they don't maintain it, you have to pay commissions. You will not be able to keep salespeople otherwise.
Look, for the masses at scale, there are very few companies that ever could reach this stratosphere where they don't have to do it. And I'm just saying, I think those two companies, even in 4 years, which 4 years is not that long of a time horizon. It was just 3 years ago. Anthropic themselves, they are 5 years old as an organization.
But what threw me off was the 2030 date. I can't keep up with week over week, let alone 4 years from now, whether somebody's going to be paying commission. Like, I just think that the amount of the acceleration of change and structure and all this stuff is ridiculous. So I have no clue at all.
I think it would be crazy if they maintain that growth rate, but we will see. We will see.
By the way, Kyle, you'll find on this, this is the one area where the contrarian point of view, it seems like Asad and Sam just 100% have disagreed with me every single week since we started the bearish and bullish segment.
All of your
some wild
I
shit.
say some wild stuff and they
Makes
get
it
so
entertaining.
angry and animated. Hardcore disagree, AJ. You are factually incorrect. Go
To my
fall in a hole and
subjective
die.
question. Sam, you made your name on CRO average tenure being disgustingly low. And so the question for you is, do you think the average tenure of CROs will be higher than it used to be in the age of AI, than it was in the SaaS era?
Sam, I would like you to know that you did more to make your name in the market than just the CRO tenure.
It was a small piece.
it's definitely part. It's part of my identity.
That
and
was
I'm
part of
happy
it.
to-
I just want you
I'm
to
happy
know.
to take
Not the
it.
only thing.
You're more than that, Sam.
I'm bearish. I guess I'm bearish.
That it will be longer.
Yeah, I think it's going to.
You think it'll be shorter?
Yeah, I think it'll continue to shrink. I mean, I think. Listen, there's going to be some people that last a while, and there's going to be. I struggle with the concept of full-time employment, to be honest with you. I talk to people that are great at what they do, and I can't figure out why they would choose to work for one company.
I could tell you right now.
Tell us.
I love working. I mean, I love building teams and working within a team. And that is very hard to do fractionally.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it for me. I mean, that's why I decided to go to Jellyfish after taking a break after Seismic, is because I couldn't see a world.
Yeah, I see that, Kyle, but like it's building a team part of it that people are struggling with. Because what does that mean? What is that? Is that headcount? Is that budget? Is that programming?
People. Working with people, the same people. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think for me, it's just the team dynamic and working with people that's so important. Like, again, I think I said this earlier, but if I'm going to live in a world where I'm a fractional CMO and I have 50 agents doing it for 10 companies, I'm not interested. Again, I'm not interested. Call me old, whatever. I'm just like, what I love about what I do is the people I work with on a daily basis, not the agent that I built to manage my calendar, right? Like,
What do you
I know
think
that there's a
about
lot of other
Lemkin
reasons.
saying that his VP of marketing is an agent?
No, I'm not even gonna start there. I love Jason. He has done a lot for this market, and I understand where he's coming from and why he's doing it. But that's my only comment. You don't have enough time on this podcast.
Okay, Asad, what's your question for Kyle?
Do you think that the CMOs of the leading AI companies will be the CMOs from the SaaS era? Or will it be a new cohort of CMOs that will be crowned at these companies?
Absolutely new.
there is this ageism in the marketing, right? Like you want the young, hip, trendy, digital native type of person, which creates a lot of opportunity for stepping up, but is hard for people.
I think it's more around the tooling and whether you are evolving with the way people work than it is age. There always will be ageism. I mean, in every role, I think. Like I don't, and I say that dealing like I think about this quite regularly in my effed up head trash, right? Where it's like, well, I turned 42 this weekend. Am I old hat now? Like, am I like the dude that they're not going to talk to because I've been around too long? And I think about that quite regularly. But I always go back to the skill set that I built. But I think it's going to be a lot harder for people 40 and above to maintain this type of change. I just think it's like any change that you have in your life, but this is like intense.
It's dramatic.
It's pretty dramatic. So I think it's going to be a new set of people. I very much welcome them.
I tend to agree with this.
I don't welcome them at all. I hope they go to hell.
What I don't welcome is people who have zero experience running marketing being fractional CMOs. All right. That's what I don't support. But outside of everything else, it's great.
Who are you subtweeting when you say that? Like, name who are one or two people that you really dislike?
I'm subtweeting myself. Well, let's
get some good stuff out of you. Get some clips. It's a clip economy, Kyle, and we need.
I have a Google sheet that I'll share. You guys can publish it on the podcast. A list of people.
Kyle, thanks for being our guest on Top Line. Thanks for being our first Indianapolis chapter head when it was Revenue Collective. Thanks for being a Pavilion Gold member. You're awesome, and we love hanging out with you.
I loved it. Thank you.
Smash subscribe, folks. Give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends about YouTube. Listen to us on Spotify. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening to Top Line.